Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our third installment of the Livewell Career Prep Series 2024. My name is Tiffany Sue. I am an admin analyst with the Livewell San Diego support team, and I'll quickly pass it over to my co-lead so he can introduce himself.
Hi everyone, my name is Joe Nelson, and I am a graduate student worker with Livewell San Diego support team, and I'll pass back to Tiffany. Thank you.
Joe and I are very excited to be moderating today's discussion. The objectives for today's panel are for you to learn more about different career paths with Livewell recognized partners in various fields, including community-based organizations, the STEAM fields, or science, technology, engineering, arts, math, and sports. You will also hear advice and insights on how to pursue a career within these fields and go over a career-related Q&A. Now I'll go over a quick overview of today's agenda. We will start off with introductions from our panelists, then move into our panel. After, we'll have some time for pre-submitted questions and Q&A with questions you've entered in the chat, and then have some time for announcements and feedback, and lastly, a networking opportunity. A few housekeeping items. This session is being recorded and will be sent out in a follow-up email. Please keep your microphones muted during the panel and enter any questions you'd like to ask in the chat. You can enter these at any time and we will gather them for the Q&A portion. Networking will occur in breakout rooms with each panelist, and you may select which room you would like to visit. You are not limited to one room and may return to the main room to go to another or select that yourself. And with that being said, we are joined today by an amazing group of panelists who are all eager to share their insights and experiences with you. Our aim is to provide you with valuable advice and information to help you navigate your career choices. Now I will pass it over to our panelists to have them introduce themselves, starting off with Diana.
Hi, everyone. My name is Diana Pitts, and I'm the Vice President of Public Affairs for the San Diego Padres. I've been with the Padres for 8 seasons, and in my role, I oversee all of our government relations initiatives, including community relations and binational work. I love my job. As you can imagine, Petco Park is an amazing place to work. I started my career off in government and eventually landed at the Padres. I'm excited to talk to you all today and learn more about your background as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Diana. Next up, we have Christina.
My name is Christina Madrigal. I am currently a Senior Operations Analyst for Verizon Connect. Verizon Connect is a B2B software company. I lead our North America Quality Control team and also our BBB escalations. I'm also a chapter board member of Latinas in Tech San Diego. We are a nonprofit organization helping Latinas transition their career into tech or help elevate their current career and to get those C-level executive leadership roles, really empower Latinas and just people of color and help them navigate corporate America and facilitate a community where they feel seen, heard, and feel for each other.
Wonderful. Thank you, Christina. Next, we have Valerie.
I almost forgot to unmute myself. That's a Zoom faux pas. Hello, everyone. My name is Valerie Hash. I am the Director of Economic Development with the local nonprofit MAC. I've been with MAC for a little over 4 years, and I've been in this particular role for about 1.5 years. My background stems from education. I'm a former high school teacher and then turned into nonprofit. I really enjoy working with people and supporting our community. Learning and understanding the needs of those around us before implementing things is incredibly important. And so I like to listen and I want to be the voice of our community.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Valerie. Next up, we have Jesse.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jesse Mendez. I'm the director for the Safe Parking Program with Jewish Family Services. I've been with JFS for 6 years, and I've been working in homeless services for about 15 years. We work directly with the unhoused population that are currently living in their vehicles. our program is pretty successful. We have about a success rating of housing homeless singles and families at about a 40% success rate, which is pretty good in this current San Diego housing market. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. And Michaela?
Hey everyone, my name is Michaela Ortega Donahue. I'm a program manager with Biocom California Institute. And Biocom California Institute is the nonprofit entity of Biocom California. Biocom California is the leading advocate for California's life science industry. So our mission and goal is to develop and promote a skilled and diverse pipeline of talent to accelerate the growth of California's life science ecosystem. So focused on helping job seekers like yourselves tap into the industry within the life sciences, biotechnology, and which is a very broad spectrum of organizations and work, as well as working with the industry to help them understand how can they diversify their job positions and create availability for people in this industry that are historically underrepresented, because I believe that there is space for all in the STEM world. So thank you for having me today.
Thank you to all of our panelists. We have a jam-packed agenda today, so let's dive right in. For the first question of our panel, we will hear from all of our panelists. Our first question is, what has been your education or career experience that led you to your career today? I'll pass it off to Jesse to start us off.
So what's led to my career today? Funny story, I did start working at Petco Park, and I worked at Petco Park for a while, and I remember being in a setting where I was seeking a different career path, and somebody mentioned about working in homeless services, and that kind of like turned. I never really thought about it like that, and I started working in some of the winter shelters that were downtown, and it just kind of like opened my eyes to what I was meant to do in life. I spent a few seasons working at the winter shelters, and then I began my career with Father Joe's Villages, and I worked there for 12 years. I started in just entry level, working on the residential floors, just engaging with clients, processing intakes, and just climbed the ladder and got into management. During that time, I went back to school, and I focused on addiction treatment and education because I had a passion to want to work in the field of helping people turn their lives around. It's a very rewarding career. You get to meet people from all different struggles and backgrounds. Some of my main focus today is working with staff members as well. I get to not only change the lives of our fellow San Diegans that are struggling right now, but I also get to change the course and direction of people that are joining this field and becoming future social workers, human service workers, and yeah. That's kind of where I'm at today. And so now I've been at JFS for about 6 years, and I started here as a case manager, and I promoted all the way to the director of the program just by showing up to work every day and working hard and learning every skill, mastering those skills, and just earning the respect of my colleagues. And yeah, that's kind of how it led me to where I'm at today.
Thank you for sharing, Jesse. I'd now like to pass it to Diana.
So I was always really interested in government, and I was an economics and political science major. And I always thought that I would somehow end up as a lawyer or doing policy. So out of college, I had some internships in government, and I went to work for a U.S. senator doing what's known as constituent services. So whenever someone has an issue with the federal government, they write their senators, and we would help them address their problems. And then, I also had an interest in local policy, local government. So I did some time at the city of San Diego. I did some time at the city of Oceanside, in policy roles and communications roles. And then eventually I left the city and I went to go work for a public affairs firm. And that was a great experience in that I got to experience different sectors. So I worked with utility companies, I worked with Airbnb, just a broad range of clients that really helped me understand business. I was fortunate in that portfolio included the San Diego Padres. And so I worked on with the Padres, with management at the Padres for about a year on some of the initiatives that they were pursuing. And eventually they brought me in-house. And it was, like right place, right time, the stars aligned, and they offered me my dream job. So that's kind of how I ended up at the Padres. I'm still doing policy, I'm still doing government relations. And so I still have the ability to tap into kind of my first love, which was community advocacy and policy change. But I get to do it in a really cool setting at the ballpark.
Awesome. Thank you, Diana. Next, we'll hear from Michaela.
So what I do today is very, very different from what I originally started pursuing. Now I work in workforce development and I oversee programs. I work with a lot with our industry partners, specifically those that are members of Biocom California's Life Science Trade Association, which, if you don't know what that is, basically companies come and have a membership with us and they get a lot of benefits and perks through that membership that help them streamline their operations or gives them resources that would otherwise be much more expensive than what they would be getting through the membership. So things like such as example healthcare for their employees is one of the perks of the membership program, and resources they have access to. And so through that, I get to work very closely with the life science and biotech industry and oversee a lot of programs and resources to help job seekers like you get a job in this industry. And again, very different from where I started. I originally wanted to be a scientist. I did my bachelor's at San Diego State University, where I actually changed my major 3 times. So if you are someone that has changed your major many times or changed your mind on what you want to do, it happens to all of us, and it's very common. And the funny thing is, the 3rd time I changed my major, I actually went back to the first major that I declared, realizing that going back to that path was what was going to best prepare me for grad school, which was something that I decided towards the end of my college career that was something that I wanted to do, because I wanted to explore the world of research. And so I worked after I finished at San Diego State, I went to Scripps Institution of Oceanography over at UCSD, where I received my master's in marine biology, and I worked in a comparative physiology lab. So by training, I'm a marine physiologist. I studied how different organisms function in the ocean, and actually do a lot of very similar processes. So looking at acid-base regulation and different cellular and molecular processes for just how they survive in a very salty, watery environment, and how the impacts of climate change might impact the way that they function. To this day, I still wear that hat, and I'm actually a faculty at Cuyamaca College. So if there's anyone here looking to go to community college, it's a great opportunity. And I teach oceanography over there. So I still wear that hat. But as I graduated and moved on from academia and academic research, I decided that world, as much as I loved research and found it incredibly fascinating, it didn't support the lifestyle that I wanted to pursue later on in my adulthood. Very specific way of life, and I decided that wasn't for me. And I started working as an adjunct faculty at a number of different community colleges in San Diego. And through that, I built up my connections. I met a lot of people. And through my time in grad school, as well as through my time in teaching, is how I got to know some folks that worked over here at Biocom. And through my understanding and growth, and I'll talk about this a little more later, of understanding what it means to transfer skills from one job to another, and how these skills used in one environment can transition to supporting the work that you do in another environment, I was able to transition to the world of work development and supporting program management rather than running a classroom, and studying fun ocean critters in the research labs. So very, very different and and different pursuits that I started with. And I now love the work that I get to do both at Cuyamaca College and here at Biocom California Institute.
Thank you, Michaela. Now we'll hear from Valerie.
Thank you. And I'm so glad to hear that Michaela is teaching. I had a very meandering pathway to what I'm doing now. I did not go to college right after high school. I was told that was not my pathway. So I went into service and I worked in the service industry, retail industry for several years. And then I felt I wasn't happy doing that and I had more to offer. So I went to community college, and from community college, I went to San Diego State, and I was pursuing a career in education. I had a very clear career plan. I wanted to be a high school English teacher with a specialization in creative writing and English as a second language. I wanted to have a teacher of the year under my belt within 5 years. I wanted to be a county teacher of the year within 10 years. And then I wanted to be a principal or administrator within 15. So I had a very clear pathway. But things changed, life happens. And so the recession hit. And when the recession hit, both my husband and I, who were teachers at the time, were continually receiving pink slips and then rehired, and then given a pink slip and then rehired, and then given a pink slip. And so doing that was very stressful. And so I decided to step away from teaching and started a family. So I actually stepped away from the workforce for several years so I could be a stay-at-home mom. And for a lot of women, it's very hard to get back into the swing of things and get back into the workforce. And it was challenging to go back. And I wanted to go back into teaching, but at the time we were in a recession and there was a hiring freeze for teachers. So I couldn't get a job as a teacher. And so then I found the world of nonprofit through my social network. I found a great nonprofit organization that needed someone part-time. I wasn't ready to step away from my kids yet, so I started part-time. But within 6 months of doing that, I found that I enjoyed it. I was doing a good job and was hired full-time. So that led me to working in the nonprofit world. And since I had a teaching background, I tried to utilize that in everything that I did. And became a program manager and implementation manager for junior achievement. And once I had launched a few things there, I wanted to try something bigger and try to launch some more new things. I love to launch new programs. Program design is something that's really close to my heart because it has so much to do with teaching and lesson planning, and that's fun for me. So then I found MAC. And I started doing a lot of workforce development, and it aligned with the work that I had been doing previously at Junior Achievement. So I had some contacts and connections and really just started to build out those workforce programs. After working with MAC for a while, I found that I wanted to lead other people. I still love educating. I love lifting other people up. So lifting people in the community has been fantastic, but I also wanted to lift, staff. And so I became the director for economic development and manage all of our economic development portfolio of programs. And it's been a wonderful journey because, nothing is really a straight pathway when it comes to career and education. So I'm actually really happy that I had a meandering pathway because it really taught me a lot about resiliency and transferable skills and the power of your social network.
Awesome. Thank you, Valerie. Next up, we will hear from Christina.
So I started my career right after high school at Geico Auto Insurance. I was lucky enough to be an account executive, and during my time there, I worked my way as a marketing manager. And because I thought I wanted to stay there, I had obtained my degree in communications and marketing. After a few years, I decided I wanted to give back. However, going back to school and getting a second degree was going to be quite costly. So before I chose to go back to school, I decided to volunteer at the hospital because I thought I wanted to be a nurse. So for roughly about a year, I volunteered at Scripps Green in La Jolla, and I did a ton of different things, anywhere from helping people that didn't have the capability to walk in the door or were handicapped, helping with their construction, guide traffic, fill out intake forms, translate. I do speak Spanish, so help individuals that didn't speak English translate those forms. While I was there, they were switching to a software program called Epic. They were going from one software program to another, and because of my ability to communicate and explain the software itself in a easier manner, one of the project managers offered me a job to travel all over the United States and help hospitals transition from paper charting to electronic software charting. So from that opportunity of volunteering, I decided I didn't want to be a nurse. And I also got to travel around the United States. The company paid for my travel. I was able to live in New York for quite a few months, go to the hospital, help with the transition. And because of my network, after a few years, I was offered an opportunity at Verizon Connect. And I've been here at Verizon Connect for the last 6 years.
Awesome. Thank you, Christina, and all of our panelists for sharing. It's always amazing to hear about all the different paths that have led to success for people. For our next question, we will hear from Diana, Christina, and Jessie. This question has two parts. First, what are some other positions within your organization? And second, what is a job within your organization that people may not know about but should? This time, Diana will start us off.
Sure. So before we started this panel, I kind of went through our staff directory to see some titles that maybe I didn't even know about. We have a ton of employees here. All of them, do a fantastic job. But there are some very unique positions to sports and that come with managing a baseball team. So a few of those would be, we have a director of fan engagement, whose job it is to engage our fans. So he kind of works with, one of the core parts of his job is he works with influencers who are interested in coming to the ballpark. He helps them with first pitches. He finds talent for the folks that do our national anthem. He has a very long process of vetting people that do the national anthem, and he just does a fantastic job of kind of seeing that talent. There's also engagement that happens in the community where he goes out and we do community events, whether that's murals, whether that's sending our Friar and Pod Squad out to engage with the community. That's kind of his role, and he does a great job at it. We also have someone that's just in charge of, it's a huge job, but field operations. So that means our grounds crew, the grass, the immaculate grass that we have. Like, he has a team that he leads that they're all experts in, I forget the very technical term, but very complicated, just understanding how grass grows, the best way to set up a field, pesticides, pest control. And our team does such a great job that MLB has a poll every year within field operations, and they vote which team has the best field out of all of the ballparks, and consistently, our team is number one. Another cool job that is here at the ballpark is we have a director of military affairs, and he's a retired military JAG officer, and he joined our organization about a year ago. And his job is to engage we're known as the team of the military. So he engages with the military on a lot of our community initiatives, ensuring that we have a strong tie to the military community here in San Diego. And anything having to do with a flyover before a game, he's the one that coordinates that. So there's just a lot. I think all that to say, there's a very broad kind of array of jobs that are available to people that are interested in sports that aren't necessarily something that you would think about as sports related. Thanks.
Thank you, Diana. Definitely lots of examples that I would not have thought of. Now we'll pass it over to Christina.
Yeah, I'm actually going to add to what Diana said. I think coming from a technical company, it's a B2B software company, a lot of individuals think that, at least in my conversation with some of our members at Latinas in Tech, they assume because you work for a tech company, you have to know how to code, you have to know AI, you have to be an engineer. And I would be considered a non-technical hire, meaning I don't have a coding background, I don't have an engineering background. And within the organization that I work in, there's so many opportunities that people don't think about, such as HR, marketing, design. There is literally someone on our at our organization, excuse me, that just designs the slide decks for executives. Make sure it's legible, make sure people get a copy of recordings, make sure everyone has stats. So there's so many opportunities within an organization that you don't think about that are not technical. So if you I would like to take that limiting belief away from people that you can have those opportunities within a tech organization.
Thank you, Christina. Now Jesse is next.
Hi, yeah, I also come through our agency. Our agency does so much. Some of the, I think the assumptions is that we only help the Jewish community. Though our agency does have a strong resources for the Jewish community, we do so much. We have a large department that focuses strictly on immigration. We operate an immigration shelter. We have a whole team of immigration attorneys that are helping people with asylum and all kinds of great things. We have case management services in all different areas of JFS. One of the things is we have a really strong focus on people that are facing insecurities. And one of the jobs that I wanted to really highlight was our nutrition department. A lot of people don't know that JFS, we have a huge self-sustaining like not like a restaurant but a kitchen where we prepare healthy meals every day. And JFS operates one of the large, it's like on the go, like kind of like a Meals on Wheels kind of thing, and it's huge. They're delivering meals to seniors that are facing food insecurities all day, every day. And we also have a small market here on site at our Balboa campus, and we call it the Corner Market. And you don't have to have any money to shop in this store. Everything is based on a point system. So depending on your household size, you can come and you can shop in the store and you get a certain amount of points. And the healthier the food options, the less amount of points is worth. So vegetable and things are worth 0 points, but if you want to get cookies, those probably are worth 10 points. And so it kind of encourages healthy food preparations and things like that. And that's probably one area of JFS that not a whole lot of people know about. And people come here to tour our sites a lot, and they really enjoy seeing the Corner Market and how it functions. So if you have a passion for that, our nutrition department is always hiring.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, everyone, for sharing about different positions in your organizations and for letting everyone hear about some lesser known positions. Now we'll have Michaela and Valerie speak about what experiences would be helpful for students and those looking to transition careers to have, and how can they attain these experiences? Do you have any advice for those looking to transition into this career from a different one? We'll go to Michaela first.
I love this question because I think the work that I get to do, I represent the entire life science and biotech industry, which is such a massive, massive industry. And I really love what Christina said earlier on just the diversity of positions that exist within it. Just to keep a company running, you don't have to wear the white coat. You don't have to be the scientist standing at a lab bench. If that's not something that you find fascinating, that doesn't mean that there isn't a space for you in this industry. And I think that in order for the biotech industry is run off of a lot of times these companies begin as startup companies where they're just now trying to barely launch a new drug or launch a new resource, launch a new medical device, and they need human resources, they need accounting, they need marketing, they need organizers and administrators and office managers, and so much more. And so when you're thinking about what resources or advice I might offer to someone looking to transition specifically out of education into the workforce, take advantage of this season of time that you are still potentially pursuing your education, or if you're in the process of transitioning out, this is the best time to pursue things like fellowships, internships, especially summer season is huge for internships in the life sciences and biotech industry. Many, many, many companies run them on their own. And so you typically want to be looking out for that application period around November, December, because they'll book out that far in advance for a summer internship. So think about these things as you're still, wrapping up your academic journey. Specifically, also, I want to highlight fellowship programs. So fellowship programs are really great. Sometimes they're run by industry companies. Sometimes they're run by other workforce development organizations like myself, or like the organization Valerie works for. And they'll pair you with someone from the industry to mentor you along the way. And that's kind of the difference potentially from internships may have that as well, but fellowships tend to be a little bit more exploratory, where you can look into different positions within the industry and find out what best fits for you. And the reality is in this industry currently, most people don't stay in the same position longer than 3 to 5 years. So if you do get the opportunity to start in a role, you don't have to stay in that role forever. And there is a ton of opportunity once you get that foot in the door to really expand and look beyond the current position and to grow in your career. A lot of companies these days in the life sciences and biotech space are very invested in helping their employees grow. So I would say look out for those internships, look out for those fellowships, and look at now while you're in your academic journey, you're transitioning from education. This is the time where you potentially also have time to start doing some what we call informational interviews. So reaching out to people and exploring different job positions. Maybe you're not ready to apply for the job just yet, but you're ready to start exploring what position might be open for me, and start paying attention to looking at job postings and job boards. Biocom California Institute has a career portal specifically for the life sciences and biotech industry, and I can share that link in a little bit later. But look at those job postings and see what certifications and skills are required, and make sure that you're getting those before you complete your academic journey. If you have just wrapped up and you're like, oh my gosh, I need a few more skills to make myself competitive for this job, there are a ton of certifications available either through online programs, community colleges. These can be hands-on lab skills. These can be professional skills. A lot of people like to call them soft skills. I don't like to call them soft skills because that implies that learning how to have a conversation with someone is easier than standing at a lab bench, and that's not true. And these are professional skills that you have to learn and adapt and grow in: how to network, how to meet people, how to build a resume, how to use your LinkedIn to your advantage. And I specifically mention LinkedIn here because everything in the life sciences and biotech space happens on LinkedIn. So build up that LinkedIn profile. Anytime you meet someone, send me a request to connect on LinkedIn today, but tell me in a message that you listened to my Live Well Career Panel talk. You can't just add people out of random. There needs to be a purpose behind why you're connecting with someone on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a tool to help you manage those social connections that you make. I'll pause there because that's an education to work transition. I have a few more tips for those going from different careers.
Oh, you can go right ahead into
do you want me to finish?
Looking to transition. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of similar advice that I just gave, but those looking to transition from different careers, make sure that, again, you're paying attention to certifications, and see if there's holes in your knowledge, or holes in your experience that you could get through a 6-week class at a community college, or a 20-hour online course that you can find. Harvard and all of these different, some amazing institutions have online programs that you can do. A UCSD Extended Studies, has programs that you can do, and all of these can help fill in those gaps if you are looking to pivot from one career to another, and address potentially some of those knowledge gaps. And again, really, this is just to make you more competitive as you transition. But as you go from one career to another, the thing you want to look for is, how are the skills, and these are the questions you want to ask yourself always. How are the skills that I learned in this job? One, what are they? Can I articulate what those skills are? Can I explain them? And how might they help me in this job? So that's what we call a transferable skill. And so it's surprising, it might surprise you how many skills are actually transferable from one career to another, and from one job position to another. So especially if you worked in another industry, you're looking to tap into the life sciences and biotech space, basically all professional skills are transferable. Especially in a company setting, you need to be able to communicate with different departments. You need to be able to, have online communication. A lot of companies are global or national now, so you can have a lot of online presence. How you conduct yourself on Zoom may be different than how you conduct yourself in person. And also, when you're building out these resumes, use words from the job description. A lot of life science and biotech companies now are using different AI filters when they're accepting applications for hire, and they will filter you out if you don't mention these trigger words. Where do you find these trigger words? In the job description. You should not be making one resume and sending it out to 10 different jobs. You should cater your resume to each job that you apply for, because each one's going to have different requirements, want different skills, have different company culture, and all of these things. And you can find all of that in the job description. So definitely look for that. And it's just some differences between maybe going from education to work or transitioning from career to career. Thanks.
Thank you, Michaela. Now over to Valerie.
Everything Michaela said. So no, she hit the nail on the head. I mean, it really is about, being very strategic and doing so with intention. For those who are currently students, looking at the world of work, it can be daunting. Especially when you're trying to think of building that resume, and you look at your resume and you're like, I don't have any skills, I don't have any experience. And so you have to pull from the things that you have done and that you can do. And so if you're a student, or if you are trying to upskill, volunteering is huge. If there's an industry that you want to learn more about, volunteer, find opportunities. And as a nonprofit organization, we are always looking for volunteers. And I've had multiple volunteers come and ask for specific types of experiences and specific skills that they need to learn. And so, certain organizations can cater to you and to help you build those skills through volunteering. Internships, just like Michaela said, internships, fellowships, those are amazing. Even in my own department, a lot of the entry-level workers that I have came from internships. I'm big on education and teaching people. And so when there's an opportunity to bring, fresh eyes, fresh ears, a fresh heart into an organization, we do it. And that often happens with our interns and volunteers. And you can gain a lot of experience through interning and volunteering. And you find your people, you find those people that inspire you to learn more, to be more, to do more. And those become your mentors. Mentorship doesn't have to be this very formal thing. There are career coaches and there are formal mentors, and those are amazing. But you can have, these mentors that you meet through your volunteering, internship, fellowship experiences. And so really build on that, because that's where you're building that social capital. And in order to move forward in this world, you really do have to have people behind you. Nothing is done solo. And so your career search, your career pathway doesn't need to happen solo. One of the programs that we run at MAC is Next Level Workforce. And we have a youth workforce program and an adult workforce program. But really with our youth workforce program, it's helping them understand how to build that capital. And you can do so by, making those connections, going onto LinkedIn and listening. A lot of times when I meet people, I can tell when they're not listening to me and they're just trying to think of their next question. Those aren't the people that I'm going to seek out and try to connect with. You need to find people that are going to share, your vision, your mission, your goals, so they can help you get better. Because if you surround yourself with people that are not as great as you, then you're not going to move forward. You have to surround yourself with really great, inspiring people. A lot of times they are going to be more knowledgeable than you, maybe more educated than you, and that's a good thing because you want to build off of that and learn from them. I also really encourage people, especially if you're transitioning from one career to the other. I mean, we meander. Look at what you're passionate about. There's this concept, Japanese concept called ikigai. And what it is you're finding the things that you love to do, the things you're passionate about. You're looking at the things that you're good at. You're looking at the things that the world needs. And then you're looking at the things that you can get paid for. And if you can overlap all of those things into one place, you find your dream job. And if you love your job, you never work a day in your life. Now, we don't always love our job every single moment, but when we do love our job, we love to work and we love the things we're doing. And the day goes very quickly and you just enjoy yourself much more. So learn from your experiences, gain a lot more experience and skills, and definitely follow Michaela's advice about the resume. Everything is filtered through AI. If it actually lands on someone's desk, we're going to spend about 7 seconds on average looking at your resume. So those buzzwords really need to pop out. And the final thing I'll say is that even though you can say you have skills, everyone says they're a great communicator. Everyone says they're a multitasker, but you've got to have examples. Have those stories of times where you demonstrated excellent communication skills, the time you demonstrated excellent multitasking. And then when you share those, that's really where you're going to influence them to invite you into their social network, because I'll guarantee most of us on this panel received job offers or opportunities from people that we knew in our social network with that social capital.
Awesome. Thank you both for the advice. It's always a challenge to try to figure out which experiences should be prioritized when looking to break into an industry. For our next question, we'll have Christina and Diana answer. What skills are essential for success in your career? What's one unconventional skill or experience that has been surprisingly valuable in your career? Diana, we can start with you for this one.
I think the ability to work with a broad range of people and have build solid relationships, be curious about other people, being curious about other people and kind of their backgrounds really leads to a solid team and just the ability to get things done. Obviously, I think in sports in particular, but even in government, there's a lot of competition, right? And so we will have a job opening and we'll get like literally 1,000 people will apply for this job. So the ability to kind of stand out from the crowd, really, as other people have discussed on this panel, just tap into your social network, tap into the relationships that you build. That is essential piece of being successful, in addition to kind of what we would all assume is necessary: solid communication skills, hard work ethic, being ethical in your job. All of these are incredibly important, but just generally, particularly in my job, it's about relationships, and I'm in the people business. So as far as one unconventional skill that's been really valuable, I am bilingual, and that has been incredibly rewarding and has been a very useful tool, both in government, but on the community relations side of my job. There are a lot of underserved communities that we work with. There's a lot of people that I worked with in government, kind of going back to the time when I was doing constituent services, that don't speak English, and they're just, being able to make those connections with those individuals is rewarding. I do a lot of translating in my job. And when I was a communications director, a lot of elected officials want to be able to communicate in Spanish. And so this was kind of an edge that I had at the time. And even to this day, where, being bilingual or understanding a different language, even if you're not proficient in it or fluent in it, I think it's important to try to build these skills and add them to your resume. Thanks.
Thank you. Now let's hear from Christina.
One of the skills that I'm going to talk about isn't something that you can necessarily add to your resume, but it's definitely going to help as you navigate through your career. And I'm going to speak about emotional intelligence and being easy to work with. This is something that's completely in your control, and your career sometimes is not going to be in control. And what I mean by that is you're going to have reorgs, people are going to get laid off, the company may shift the budget, things are going to happen that you have no control over. But what you can control is how you show up, how you work with people. A good example for myself is I have meetings with the C-level executives on a regular basis, and they're very short with me because they have limited time. Now, if I wasn't emotionally intelligent, I would take that personal and think that they were attacking me or they didn't want to work with me or something along those lines. It's recognizing that these individuals have a limited amount of time, they want to get the job done, and because of that, it's allowed me to have opportunities that other people don't have because you're solving problems in your career, and people want to work with individuals that are easy to work with, that are going to show up, that are going to trust you to follow through. So those are some things that you can do, and that's going to help you establish your network and get invited to opportunities that aren't necessarily out there. I recently applied for a position that was taken down due to budget, but during my interview process, the hiring manager said, you know, you've been interviewing with me since the day I met you 2 years ago. And that's why I asked you to apply for this role, because every single time you've always shown up with a positive attitude, you've always followed through, you've always communicated. When things weren't going right, you still showed up with a smile, and it was good working with you. So even though I didn't have necessarily all the education that they were looking for, he still asked me to apply, and I was one of the top 2 candidates. So that's something within your control that you can work on in practice. It's like working on a project with 4 other people, and you don't want to be the only one doing work. You want to split that work amongst everyone. Everyone has a great skill set. So that's one of the things I think is going to help you immensely in your career.
Thank you so much. Now we'll have Jesse and Michaela answer our next question. The question is, in what ways do you see your field evolving in the next 5 to 10 years? And how can aspiring professionals prepare for these changes? Over to Michaela first.
Yeah, so the life sciences and biotech industry is constantly changing. We are constantly learners. It doesn't matter what position you have in the company, science or non-science related. We are constantly pivoting, especially since we went through a global pandemic not that long ago. Many companies in that process pivoted to support what was happening globally in the world, to make more PPE for the world, to put out more vaccines and all of these different resources, things that they maybe weren't originally doing before the pandemic. And a lot of them pivoted to support that. So what we're seeing currently now, and what I expect to see in the next 5 to 10 years, is a lot of these companies coming back to their original goals, as there's less of a urgent need for PPE, as the production of the vaccine and other medical resources to manage, the coronavirus and things like that are settling. And we have these resources available. So a lot of these companies are coming back to their true work. So with that happening, we've actually seen a lot of layoffs in the last year. And what has been described to me is these aren't necessarily layoffs because the industry is economically in trouble. Now the industry is experiencing some economic pressure currently. But what we're seeing is that it's really more of these companies that rapidly hired a lot of a specific type of position to get us through this season that the world was experiencing. And so now we're seeing that reorganization and reshifting of priorities to come back to the main goals of the company and what positions make sense for the world that we live in now. So I imagine that is going to continue throughout the next 5 to 10 years. Some skills that are going to be essential to the industry in the next 5 to 10 years, and actually what I get a lot of requests for now, is having, if you're looking for more of the science roles, to have an understanding of bioinformatics data analysis, and not only that, but data storage. So especially as genomics and genetic counseling is really taking off in the industry, people are getting their entire human genomes sequenced. How can you manage all of that data? And also we're going to need legal. How are you protecting people's individual security through this process? We're going to need a lot more in terms of finance support and things like that. So specifically, if you are looking for more information about current and future shifts in this industry, please check out our Life Science Workforce Symposium coming up in October. And then we actually have some flyers and links that you should see coming up in the chat here about that. And I'd be happy to chat with you more in the breakout room about that.
Awesome, thank you. Those did just get added to the chat. Now over to Jesse. How about your field?
Thinking about how my field is going to evolve and change for the next 5 to 10 years gives me anxiety. The thing is working in homeless services and just the nonprofit world, the ebbs and flows of funding and of politics and of the powers that be that decide what is the next best thing of what's going to cure and solve homelessness really dictates how and what direction essentially agencies have to travel. What I do see currently is and some of the roundtables that I've had the pleasure of sitting in is there is a strong emphasis on lived experience as well as firsthand experience into homelessness and resource navigation. That it's really starting to take the lead in how agencies are looking to hire and are looking to recruit to work with people. One of the things that I spoke to with one of the leaders in the field of homeless services states that no position that is client facing should ever be considered entry level. And so what would give professionals a leg up is kind of how they were mentioning in the questions before, is getting your hands on experience, doing your volunteer work, doing your research in the field, understanding understanding the funding sources, but understanding the current modalities that this field is kind of working with. So I would put a strong focus on just understanding the field of homelessness, understanding how to engage with clients, understanding, and then just understanding if you have that passion to want to be in this field. But 100%, I see that this field is going to take a strong focus on the recruiting of people with lived experiences in order to guide the principles of how to deal with the unhoused crisis.
Thank you both for sharing. Now for our final question, we'll hear from Valerie, Diana, and Jesse. The question is, what barriers have you faced in the past and how were you able to overcome them? Over to Valerie first.
What barriers did you face? Everybody faces different kinds of barriers. And in our next level workforce program, we really try to identify what those are and how we can support and how people can be self-sufficient in supporting themselves through those barriers. Now, for myself, I think one of the biggest barriers was a lot of self-doubt. When I was in high school, I was not necessarily on a college track. I remember my friends were invited to go to the college fair. And so all the colleges were in the gymnasium and they got to go walk around, but I was not invited. And that's when I realized that I was not in a college going track. And I asked my counselor, why am I not going to the college fairs? And because she knew a lot about my upbringing and the economic barriers, the family barriers that I had, She didn't see me for my potential. She saw me for the barriers that I had. And I was told that I was destined for a, service retail, life. And I needed to learn 10 key touch so I could run a register without looking at it. And someone as an adult telling a youth that, I mean, as an educator, that's crazy talk. But it happens, and it's hard for teachers and counselors who have 170 students that they're trying to connect with in a very short time to see all of the person. There's some teachers that are able to, and there's some that are not. And unfortunately, I was one that was not. So I was told to go to a certain track, and I listened. And so overcoming that self-doubt was a really big piece of how I was able to move forward. And it was, challenging myself, being resilient, and having grit. I think that's one of the most important things we really have to build up in our young people. And even as adults, we have to continue to sharpen that blade, is that grit, the ability to work hard, to buckle down, to power through things, power through very difficult things, and put yourself in a place of discomfort. When you put yourself in that proximal zone of development, this is a place where you're pushed, but you're not pushed too far, where you're destined to fail, but you're pushed hard enough where you force yourself to rise to the occasion, to come to the top. And I think that my ability to have grit, to be resilient, is what built up my self-confidence. And so having that confidence in myself and my abilities, and not allowing others to define me and tell me who I am or what I'm supposed to be or do, was really difficult, but it's how I became who I am, and how I learned how to look for my next level. What's my next goal? What's my next thing? What is the next thing I'm going to overcome? And that becomes motivating and incredibly empowering. So don't let others define you.
Thank you. Now over to Diana.
I'd say it's really hard to follow that, because that I feel very much the same way about kind of self-doubt. I grew up in El Paso, Texas, single mom. My sister went to college, and I was the second in my family to go to college, but didn't really know how to navigate kind of the educational process. Applying to college was a very difficult thing for me. But overall, I think in my current role, I also face challenges in sports, right? There's not a lot of women that work in sports. There aren't a lot of minorities. I'm Latina. I'm actually the first Latina vice president in the history of the Padres. So thank you. It's a rare to see women in sports that are minorities. So it's a challenge that I've overcome, but it took a lot of hard work, and it took me showing up and saying, I'm here, and my opinions and my voice is important to this conversation, and people need to hear a different perspective. I'm very respectful of all of my colleagues that I work with, and everyone has their own different background, but there's also a realization that I had that maybe some of the challenges I had were very, very different than some of the other people's, and kind of sharing my story has been important in that regard. So yeah, that's just a little bit about myself, and some of the barriers I've overcome in life. Thanks.
Thank you. Now, Jesse.
100% echoing the self-doubt, but a lot of the barriers that I have had to overcome is having to, especially entering a field that you didn't necessarily have experience in, was just to get people to give you the chance. I am not, I don't look like a very approachable person. I'm like 6'4", I'm 300 pounds. I have a lot of tattoos, and some people will cross the street rather than say hi to me. But I'm a big teddy bear kind of guy, those are some of the barriers that I have faced. And so I guess some of the things, the way that I overcome them is by speaking up and introducing myself, and just getting and like not necessarily forcing the issue for people to get to know me, but trying to show that I am a very approachable person. But at the same time, is the biggest ways is once you've gained that opportunity to get into a career path or an agency that you've been trying to get in is hit that ground running. You know, show up to, one thing that if I could tell anybody that's trying to enter any field is show up to work every day. You know, I had this very strong mentor early on in my career that told me that she was like, Jesse, you can be the best at what you do, but if you can't be here every day, I don't need you on my team. She said, but you could struggle in what you do, but if you're here every day, you can learn. And so that's just always lived with me throughout my entire career, is just to show up to work. Show up to work, show up ready to learn, and be open-minded, because we don't always have all the answers. Some of the best lessons that I learn every day are from my staff. You know, my staff, like, I'm old school. The way that I've learned to do things, or the way that I know how to do things, are definitely way different from the way things are done today. You know, I really pride my staff that are really good with Excel and things like that, because I'm not very good at those things. And so 100% just be eager to learn and be eager to suit up and show up. That's the best advice that I could give somebody today.
Thank you. I know for me, Excel has definitely taken a lot of Googling and practice. We hope you all have had an opportunity to learn more about positions available at these organizations. Thank you to all of our panelists for sharing on your experiences and advice with our audience today. We still have a lot more advice from our panelists left. For the next part of our panel, I'm going to pass it over to Joe to go over some of our pre-submitted questions you have submitted during registration, and then lead us into Q&A.
So, thank you very much, Tiffany. And thank you again to all the panelists for sharing all those incredible insights and giving us all that inside scoop on, you know, your career path and how you got to where you are today. So as Tiffany mentioned, now we'll be asking some of the great questions that our attendees submitted ahead of time. We do have a limited amount of time to ask these questions, and there were a lot that were submitted. So we'll try to get through as many as possible, but if yours did not get answered, there will be other opportunities to potentially talk to panelists. So first up, we have a question for Jesse and Christina. And the question is, what steps would you recommend that an applicant take to become competitive for an entry-level role in your company? And we will start with Jesse.
I think I might have mentioned it before, but if you're trying to gain an entry level position or just an ability to get in the door, volunteer, right? Get some experience, get an understanding of the field. It is. I feel like a hypocrite by saying it, because I didn't have that experience, but I just had the opportunity. So if you don't have the experience, get yourself a great reference that when someone sees that name, that they're going to give you that opportunity. But 100%, if you're going to want to get in the door at an agency that you really want to get into, be sure your resume or be sure your cover letter can speak to your already like pre-established experience in that field.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jesse. And now we'll pass it to Christina.
So what I would suggest, especially for an organization where I work at, where it's for a for-profit organization, find a problem that you can fix and reach out to a hiring manager, because at a for-profit organization, they're going to want to fix that problem right away. Especially a lot of organizations that do have an online brand, you're going to find typos, you're going to find campaigns that are, you know, that were pushed out on accident. You're going to find things that need to be fixed. And if you bring it to the attention of a hiring manager or a director or a C-level executive, they're going to want to fix that right away. And that's going to be your foot in the door.
Thank you both very much for sharing those insights. And for our next question, we're going to have Christina and Valerie answer the question. And this question has two parts. So the first part is what professional development opportunities or resources do you recommend, or does your organization offer? And then the second part is, do you currently offer any volunteer internship or shadowing opportunities, and how can someone apply? And we will start with Valerie for this one.
Yes and yes. So definitely lots of professional development opportunities at my organization. Like I mentioned, the Next Level Workforce Development Program. We do offer individualized case management and programming so that we can help, someone transition from either, being a student and going to school to the world of work, or from one type of job to another. The goal is to find living wage work that's full-time with benefits to really provide you with what you need in order to be self-sufficient with your family. So definitely, if you have questions, reach out to us at MAC. We're here to help. But yes, we do have volunteer opportunities. We do work with our participants to help them get internships and shadowing opportunities. And it's really about reaching out. There are so many opportunities out there. There's lots of organizations doing this great work. Yes, please come to MAC, but there's others doing awesome work to help people get really great jobs. And so you've got to reach out. You've got to ask questions. You've got to apply, because, if you don't know about the resources, it's because you're probably not reaching out or joining things like this. You have to put yourself out there. So when you are, looking for an opportunity, Google is your friend, use the internet, but use your social network. Really start, building up that LinkedIn network, building up the network of professionals that are like-minded that can help you get to your next level. What's your next place? Surround yourself with those people because they're the ones that are going to introduce you to opportunities just like this. And when you see an opportunity, take it. When there's an opportunity to volunteer, do it. When there's an opportunity to ask questions, ask them. No question is a stupid question. So if you have the, guts and the grit to actually ask some really hard questions of people, they will remember you because you made them feel something in that moment. Like, oh my gosh, this person asked a great question, or, oh my, I never really thought of that. And when you make someone feel something, they're going to remember you. Just like when you notice a typo and you email someone about it, like, oh my gosh, that's so embarrassing. I better fix that. They're going to remember you. You made them feel something. So really work on building that social network, that human capital, because they're the ones that are going to offer you opportunities to start learning more.
Awesome. Thank you for that insight, Valerie. And it looks like Tiffany also dropped a couple of flyers from some opportunities that MAC may have in the chat as well. And then now we'll pass it to Christina.
So at Verizon Connect, we currently don't have any volunteer opportunities. With Latinas in Tech San Diego, we do have some volunteer opportunities available. I would say reach out to any one of the chapter leaders, myself on LinkedIn, or even just reach out to us at San Diego at latinasintech.org. For Verizon Connect, or Verizon, the broader organization, they do offer Verizon Skill Forward. It is an opportunity to obtain different certifications across AI, coding, cybersecurity, data analytics, leadership, project management. And while you're discovering what you really like, you can just dabble into different types of courses just to get an understanding of what it is, what you like, and if you want to pursue it further. Some of these courses are as short as a week. Some of them are 2 weeks, but at least it gives you an introduction in what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know until you expose yourself to it. No one is coming to discover you, so you have to put yourself out there, even if it's on LinkedIn, and let others know that you're interested in pursuing a certain career or you're interested in learning more. I comment on LinkedIn all the time and give people suggestions if they're open to taking the feedback, of course.
Thank you both. So for our next question, this one is for Valerie. And the question is, did you expect to have the career you have now? And if not, what steps have you taken in the past to pivot into the career that you do have?
Definitely did not think I would be in the nonprofit world. And if you asked me, if I would be at a director level, when I was going to college, I don't think that would have been a thought in my brain. I didn't feel I had the skills or leadership ability, but now I do. And it's because I, chose to learn and I chose to become more educated. And so like I said before, I thought I was going to be this amazing, outstanding teacher. And I still am a teacher, but a little bit different.
Let's rest for
So-
a second. Okay,
Sorry.
because I don't think they have a bed. I think Grandpa's sleeping in his bed.
Oh, well, That's unfortunate. But let's go ahead and go back to the question because I just lost my train of thought. So yes, my career pathway did definitely change. I did think I was going to be an educator and a teacher, but when I learned more about the nonprofit world, I really sought more education in it. I never thought I was going to go back to school after I got my bachelor's degree from San Diego State, but I actually recently just last year graduated with my master's from USD. And I didn't think that I was going to go back to school, but it was really necessary for me to get the skill set that I needed to become director level and to gain the confidence I needed to be able to do the work that I do and do it well. So nope, did not go on the same path that I thought, but really learning about different opportunities to learn more, building my social network, finding mentorship in different places. At first I thought my mentor had to be someone that I worked with, but it's not. Your mentor can be someone that sees something in you and can bring you to your next level and help you upskill. So what the steps that I took were just to ask a lot of questions, build my social network, and then really get more education that was designed specifically for what I wanted to do.
Awesome. Thank you very much for sharing that. Thank you for sharing your experience and being just so open about it. And then now we're just going to briefly pass it to Michaela, who's also going to add some of her experience here.
One really quick thing I wanted to share that was actually a question that a career office asked me when I was in grad school. Because I've pivoted, very similar to Valerie. I never thought I'd work in nonprofit and have pivoted quite a few times in my career from academic research to teaching to workforce development. And I think the question that, especially when you're pivoting careers, was so impactful to the way I have approached every change, professional change in my life now is when you are having a really, really, really good day at work, what are you doing? And I think that has been a question that has helped guide every professional decision that I have made from then on, because it helps you identify what are the aspects of the current job that you have that you really enjoy, and helps you identify what you're doing and when you are having that really, really good day. And then you can guide your future career searches and your future how you're going to pivot in your career, whether it's maybe staying at the same company and looking just for a different type of job within that company, or if it's looking and completely pivoting to a different industry. How can you identify what are you enjoying? And I think that question has really helped guide every decision that I have made since I pursued my professional career. So yeah, think about what are you doing that makes you happy on a day-to-day basis, or when you have a really good day, what did you do at work that day? And that can help guide how to pivot moving forward.
Well, thank you both very much for sharing. And as far as pre-submitted questions, that's all the time we had. I'm sorry if we were not able to get to yours, but hopefully there will be time to have a few more answered with the information that is presented next. So now we are going to have an open Q&A where any audience member is welcome to ask a question to the panelist. We've been keeping track of the questions that you've had in the chat. If anybody would like to add another question to the chat, please do so now, and we'll wait just a few seconds to see if anybody pops something in the chat before moving on. So it looks like the chat is a little bit quiet right now. Oh, I spoke too soon. So one question that has come through is there any advice that you have for international students who need a visa or sponsorship when they're looking for a position? And this is open to any panelist that would like to speak up.
It's a tough question. I wish I had the expertise to provide more insight on that. But, you know, as a student, just really look at your campus and, you know, what direction your campus can give you. I really do wish I could have given you more.
Also look for global companies. Oftentimes companies that have global offices have a better infrastructure to support sponsorship and visas and things like that. So that could be an easier place to start as you're tapping into a new industry.
Great, thank you. And then just to address a couple of the questions from the chat. Someone asked, will there be an email that follows up about some of the information and programs that were here today? The answer to that is yes, we will release the recordings and have a follow-up email to kind of address some of those. And then one moment. Another question that has come through the chat that is open to any of our panelists is, how would you recommend early to mid-career professionals that are making industry changes to stand out and have successful transitions?
Transferable skills. Identifying those transferable skills and having those examples. Don't hesitate to go old school. Cover letters are very influential. Anytime I receive a resume that has a cover letter that actually explains some transferable skills and examples of how they've demonstrated that, that's going to perk me up a little bit more. So definitely look at those transferable skills and how you can explain the need for that skill in the job or in that career that you're trying to move into.
Great, thank you, Valerie. And then, would any other panelists like to add to that question?
Social capital, social capital, social capital.
Yes.
It's about everyone thinks of financial capital or capital in terms of money, but think about relationships and who do you know and how can you tap into those relationships? That may be what gets you past a filter on a job application. Maybe what gets you an interview. You never know.
Yeah, I would definitely like to add to that. Like your network is key in getting you opportunities. And if you're not in the field that you want to be in, volunteer for an organization. A good example for myself, when I wanted to go into marketing, I volunteered at the American Marketing Association, and learning and exposing myself to the language, the lingo, some of what's top of mind in the industry, being familiar with the trends. So volunteering or being part of those networks to build those relationships.
Great. Thank you. And then as our last question, one question that has come through is, are there resources for people over 50 at your organizations or other organizations that you may know about?
Resources specific to getting a job for those that are over 50?
I believe that is the angle of the question, yes.
Okay, yes, definitely. I know that there are some different programs out there. San Diego Workforce Partnership had one about, reskilling our older generation of workers. And so you've got to start talking to organizations like that. Feel free to reach out to us at MAC. We can guide you toward some resource navigation. So looking at some other organizations that might be able to support that. But it's really specific. And when someone comes in with a wealth of experience and knowledge, that is super beneficial to organizations. It's about highlighting that experience and how it's going to transfer into a different type of job.
Specifically I'm the workforce development arm of a life science and biotech company. So I'm going to speak from that lens constantly. We have a pipeline that we call Curious to Career. So at whatever phase of life you become curious about the life sciences and biotech industry, we have resources for you in terms of transitioning into the workforce. So that could be K through 12, that can be mid-career, that can be transitioning careers later on in life. And so please reach out, check out our website, shoot me an email. I'm happy to answer emails or LinkedIn messages. We can get you connected.
And everyone here should be Googling us and looking for our LinkedIns to, message us and to get connected. So if you haven't done so yet, I highly encourage it.
Okay, well, thank you again to all the panelists for answering those on-the-spot questions. That is all the time we have for our live Q&A. Thank you again to everybody who asked questions. And again, sorry if we weren't able to get to all of them, but we want to ensure that we do have enough time for networking. And while we are networking, please feel free to ask questions directly to the panelists in the breakout rooms. I'm now going to pass it over to Tiffany briefly, who's going to walk us through some announcements.
Thank you, Joe. Before we move to the networking portion, we wanted to share our next panel. This is just one panel in our career prep series. The next one will focus on vocational and trade positions within the County of San Diego. It will take place on October 29th in North County at One Safe Place. So be on the lookout and follow us on Instagram or check out our newsletters to find out more. And back to you, Joe.
Awesome. Thank you, Tiffany. So now we would really appreciate it if you could complete a short feedback form. It's just a few short questions and it will help us learn how we did. And if you'd like to continue seeing events like this, I'm going to drop a link in the chat and there we go. And if you could please take a moment to fill it out. When you do fill it out, you will be entered into a opportunity for a drawing for a $50 gift card, and your feedback enters you into the drawing. And then we'll pause here for just about 2 minutes to allow you to fill out the form. All right. Thank you all for taking the time to fill out that quick evaluation. And again, this feedback will be used for our future events. As far as the raffle goes, we'll notify the recipient of the gift card by email in the next couple of days. And now, lastly, we will move on to our networking portion of the day. We thought it would be valuable for you all to have some time to connect with other attendees or get more information from the panelists in a one-on-one basis. All of our panelists will be in individual breakout rooms during this time. Once you're in there, please raise your hand before unmuting to be respectful and give others the chance to speak as well. You may join as many breakout rooms as you would like. After joining the first one, you can choose a different room by clicking on the icon with the 3 dots and then clicking the join button on the right of the room that you're interested in. If you have any issues with changing breakout rooms, you can always return to the main room and my teammate Hannah will be able to assist you. Now, please feel free to join any breakout room by selecting the name of the panelist you want to speak to, and we will reconvene in the main room around 5:13, just a couple minutes before closing for some final comments.
That is all for today. Thank you all for joining us, and huge thank you to the panelists for sharing so much great advice. And thank you to all the attendees for listening in. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to livewellyouth@sdcounty.ca.gov and stay connected by following our social media pages where we will post future opportunities and events. Thank you all. I hope you have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, everyone.